The examiner informed that he would prepare a report of results from this evidence and that the report would be sent to her case manager. Therefore, this should not be considered a confidential evaluation. However, he stressed that it was important for her to be honest in her response because any attempts to be deceptive or uncooperative would be noted in the report and could be detrimental to her reunification efforts. The examiner explained that given the nature of the referral, he was not able to release a copy of the report to her, but added that she could request a copy of the report from her case manager. So Jan requested this report so she could, share it amongst her so-called friends. Assessment procedures. Sources of information are, interview with Jan, emails with caseworkers, authorization for services, all the things. Test administered was the Kaufman Brief Intelligence Test, Million Clinical Multi... Y'all, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what some of this shit says. Okay. One of you medical professionals can explain later. This is the 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 2nd edition. Minnesota Multiple Personality Inventory, 3rd edition. Okay? That's page 1. Here we go. Behavioral observations, page 2. Jan was evaluated at the examiner's office. She arrived on time for her appointment and she was casually dressed and well groomed. She was friendly and polite when greeted by the examiner. Following the explanation from her examiner, she demonstrated understanding of the purpose of this evaluation and the limits and confidentiality, and she agreed to participate. Jan maintained a pleasant mood and an appropriate effect throughout the evaluation. During the interview, she answered all the examiner's questions. The examiner noted discrepancies between her self-report and the information obtained from her records. When the examiner asked about these discrepancies, she remained calm and provided many explanations. Following the interview, Jan was administered the KBIT-2, a measure of her intellect. She completed each task provided to her without complaint, but the examiner noted that she rushed and made careless mistakes. That is, she blurted answers without giving sufficient thought to questions, and she provided responses without carefully considering all of her options. As a result, her score was significantly low. In addition, the IQ test she completed with the MCMI, blah, 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 all that, 3 as a standardized measures of her psychological functioning and adjustment, which she did within a reasonable amount of time. I'm sorry I have to call her Jan, y'all. Background information, here we go. We're going to get a small excerpt from the book. Are y'all ready? Okay, here we go. Family history. Jan was born in Illinois and was raised by her grandparents. She had a twin sister and 3 half-siblings. She explained that her parents were very young at the time of her birth, so they were unable to meet her needs and ensure her well-being. That being said, she reportedly maintained contact with her parents throughout her life. Her father was identified as being an H addict and died at the age of 40. Her mother and grandparents were living in the present time. Jan denied ever being married. At the time of this evaluation, she was engaged to Bean. I forgot. I didn't even think of a name for you, dude. She was engaged to Bean. She and Mr. Bean had a son together. We know who this is. She denied any abuse or police involvement in her current or previous relationships. But she described her past boyfriends as being jerks. Adapted functioning skills. Jan moved out of her grandparents' home to live with her sister at the age of 18. She denied ever living on the streets, but she recalled having to stay in hotels in the past because of mold problems in her residence and being evicted. At the time of this evaluation, she lived in a duplex with Mr. Bean and their son. Jan had a driver's license and her own vehicle, and she had her own bank account and maintained finances on her own. She described herself as being normally functioning and fully independent adult with regard to her day-to-day responsibilities and her ability to care for her son. She denied ever feeling overwhelmed by any of her personal responsibilities or her son's needs. Academic history. Jan graduated from high school. Wrong-o! She described the school as being difficult for her due to her attention problems and her poor comprehension. Employment history. Here we go, y'all. Jan was employed by Dunkin' Donuts for 1 month at the present time, but she was on a, air quote, suspended leave because of, air quote, online bullies, accused her of tampering with a drink. She identified her 3-year job as a FMLA agent as being her longest term of employment. At the present time, she received Medicaid benefits, but her food stamps were discontinued. Medical history. This is very telling. Jan recalled that she suffered from seizures as a child, but her condition resolved over time as she grew older. That is the only thing listed under medical history. Now, you would think a person that was dealing with infertility and all of the things, that would be listed on her medical history, right? Right? It gets better because when he lists the medication, there's no listing of progesterone or Clomid or any of that stuff. Hold, please. Mental health history. Jan informed that she was diagnosed with ADHD when she was 18 years old due to attention problems, poor focus, and very high energy. She was prescribed Adderall since that time, which she described as being helpful in regulating her attention and her energy. When asked if she experienced any symptoms of depression or anxiety, she replied, "Not really." She stated that she was bothered by bullying on social media. She identified herself as a content creator doing normal daily stuff. She claimed people didn't like happiness and body shamed her. She claimed that she experienced PTSD. This is in parentheses right here. She denied experiencing nightmares or flashbacks, but she was always on her toes as a result of how she was treated on social media. However, she continued to post videos on social media. She recently began promoting a book she wrote about her childhood and cyberbullying, and she announced an in-person book signing. She did not endorse any symptoms of mania or psychosis. When I asked about her current DCF case and legit circumstances how they impacted her emotions, she replied, "Not really. I know my truth. I know it was all because of these internet bullies. In my heart, I know that I did nothing wrong." But she stated she admitted herself for crisis stabilization while she was living in Illinois. She explained that she requested those services to learn how to cope with difficult life experiences. She denied ever experiencing suicidal thoughts or engaging in self-harm. She was engaged... I'm reading this off a screenshot, y'all, so y'all got to give me a minute. She was engaged in individual therapy, and she was prescribed psychiatric medications through the Elite DNA. She currently took Adderall, fluoxetine, trazodone, and she was weaning herself from Lexapro. Jan denies ever abusing alcohol, illegal drugs, or prescription medicine. Jan informed that she was arrested and charged with battery against her fiance in 2018, but on page 2, she had never had any type of domestic dealings with that. You see what? Just wait, okay? She explained that she scratched him during an argument because she stated he refused to marry her. She denied being emotionally or behavioral out of control, but she could not explain why her fiance would call the police if she simply just scratched him. She was detained in the county jail for 1 day, and her charges were reportedly dismissed. Oh, excuse me. DCF investigation. Jan stated that DCF opened approximately 40 to 50 investigations into her son's well-being due to false allegations made against her bullies on social media as a vendetta against her. She stated that she was accused of punching her son, burning her son, and locking him in his room, all of which she described as not true when asked by strangers on the internet. When asked why strangers on the internet would make such serious allegations and go to the extent of reporting her to authorities, she claims, y'all get ready. Let me repeat that, because y'all aren't ready for this shit. When asked why strangers on the internet would make such serious allegations and go to the extent of reporting her to the authorities, Jan claims they're jealous. I can do a high kick into a split. I color, I bake, I cook. I'm a good dancer, and people are jealous of that. Jealousy can kill. They see somebody happy and thriving, and they make themselves feel better, but they have child abuse and drugs on their record. While her son was never removed from her care, and she agreed to a safety plan which included pill counts, random drug screens, parenting classes, and mental health treatment. When asked why she had, this text gets real small hearted. When asked why she had to do pill counts and drug screens when she never abused drugs or prescription medications, she replied, I really don't know, to be honest. It's all about the calls. I never tested positive in over 50 drug screens. When Jan was asked by the examiner to reflect on her actions in the past and identify what she could have done differently to avoid her current circumstances, she replied, not use social media. When asked why she continued to do so if it caused problems for her, she replied, I'm allowed to be speaking out. A lot of people look up to me and I inspire them. I advocate for a lot of people so they know that they're not alone. When asked if she regretted any of her parenting decisions, she added, none. He is very spoiled and very loved. And he has everything he needs. I'm sorry. When asked what she could do to prevent similar problems in the future, she replied, less time on social media so they don't have things to say. Few hours in the morning or when he is in school or sleeping. Just color and sing to them, she added. Learn and grow from being a first-time mom and do better the next day. She claimed that she would stop using social media if she was required to do so. The examiner did not have a TikTok account. This is where it gets kind of interesting. The examiner did not have a TikTok account, so he was unable to access Miss Jan's account. However, an internet search of her name revealed several of the videos she uploaded to her social media account. Some videos were of mundane day-to-day activities such as her cooking and eating. Other videos contained sensitive information such as her son's struggles, her legal circumstances, and her DCF case. I'm being violated, y'all. Why are you violating me? Why are you violating me? I'm gonna read.